there is this other concept called noumenons and phenomenon. So this is by a philosopher called Immanuel Kant. He lived in the 18th century. I believe he was a German. So his view is that, there are two worlds that we occupy simultaneously. There is this real world that actually exists. And then there is the world of phenomenon, which is constructed, by our imagination, our head, in our head and through our experiences. The world that we experience, to put it simply, and the world that actually is. Okay? So he made that critical distinction. I just wanted to draw on that concept a little bit here. So in modern study of neurosciences and in cognition and consciousness, etc., we have kind of, realized that that's a very same truth, that Immanuel Kant was talking about. And, Immanuel Kant was perhaps not the first one to say it. There was probably more ancient philosophies in different cultures and different parts of the world, which talks about this. So essentially, what we are seeing here is the visual pathway of, how do we see things here, right? So that there is, the story about how the light enters our eyes. There is a lens, and it hits the retina at the back. And the retina is not even a shiny mirror or anything, right? So you don't get a nice, neat, inverted image in your retina. And the retina is actually a clutch of nerves with blood and flesh and all that happening there. It's not like, what you would expect. It's not like a movie screen or anything. But there are very sensitive nerves which picks up the signals. And as you can see, there are a bunch of nerves that goes to the right visual cortex and a bunch of nerves that goes to the left visual cortex. They all work together to create an image of what it is that is actually happening outside the head, or what it is that you're just seeing, right? So lucky for us, we have evolved over billions of years, from various species. Our evolution has ensured that there is high level of correspondence between what actually exists and what we actually construct in our head. But nevertheless, we have to be aware that these are two different things. What actually exists. What you see is entirely constructed by your brain. Okay, I'll take a quick pause here to check if everyone's with me. Is that kind of making sense, or is it getting too esoteric? Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I hope, everyone's okay with that. Okay. Thanks, Deborah. Cheers. Thanks, Karen. All right. Okay. So again, just to reinforce that fact, there is a book called On Being by eminent neuroscientist called Anil Seth. And he talks about how, our brains are always hallucinating, so our brains are always constructing this imagery, okay? When you're awake, it's based on, the stimulus that you're getting through your senses. When you're dreaming, when you're asleep, you still see these images, because our brain is actively, continuing that process of hallucination, right? And what the key difference is, when you're awake, your hallucination, or what your brain constructs, happens to be in high correspondence with what's happening in reality, and also it is in correspondence with what someone else's experiences. And when we agree on our hallucination, we say that that is reality, right? And that's what is real. So we almost are immersed in the world to the extent that we don't really recognize that fine line between the subjective and the objective world. We take the objective world to be, or we take the subjective world to be the objective world, while there is a small distinction, right? And why am I talking about all these things? because that's what my definition of complexity is. The definitions is that when, normally you don't find that much of a gap, because as I said, evolution has blessed us with so much of correspondence between what really goes on and what we construct in our head. But when we are dealing with complex, abstract situations, problem solving that our biological brain is not really equipped for, and we are venturing out to solve world hunger and world peace and, organizational transformation, which almost feels like one of those things. Our brains, really trick us. They don't really show us that there is a gap that's developing between how you see things and how things actually are, or how the world actually is. And this gap is what I define as complexity.